And I went out and said, listen, these are the kinds of insider buys you really need. This was not, $300,000 to paint the tape, so to speak. They have been a partner of NVIDIA for real. Now, how do you know a partner of NVIDIA for real? They don't talk about it. The guys who are kind of fugazis, they're talking about it all the time. Well, Michael Dell doesn't talk about it either because Michael Dell's what I call humble.
Right.
Humble. But anyway, I think that this is the kind of thing that people are looking at. They're looking at the semis that are not picked over. This one's not picked over. Look at this thing. This is what I call a juggernaut. They report tomorrow.
Jim Cramer highlights key moves in the tech and semiconductor sectors, focusing on Marvel's expanded collaboration with Amazon for AI infrastructure and its CEO's significant insider stock purchase, signaling confidence. He contrasts Marvel's momentum with Intel's struggles, emphasizing the importance of focusing on underappreciated semiconductors. He also discusses Nvidia's dominance despite recent challenges, such as overheating issues with its Blackwell chips, which he believes have been resolved. Cramer remains optimistic about Nvidia's growth, predicting strong revenue from Blackwell's ramp-up and urging investors to hold through short-term volatility. Finally, Cramer notes regulatory scrutiny affecting big tech like Microsoft and Google, while reiterating Nvidia's unique position as an industry leader, poised for significant gains as new products roll out.
$80 billion winner. Matt Murphy, this morning, he's the CEO, announced an expanded strategic collaboration with Amazon to enable accelerated infrastructure for AI. Okay, now why is this important? Well, first, right here, Matt Murphy bought $1 million worth of stock.
The Tech Select Spider XLK on the Yahoo Finance platform is looking, a little in the green here on this abbreviated trading day after falling nearly 1.5% ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. The top three holdings in here are Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia. All have underperformed the S&P 500 in November. That is, in fact, news you can use. We're also looking at Nvidia, one of our most popular tickers here on Yahoo Finance. That stock getting a boost on the final trading day of the year. Interesting, Julie, to see Nvidia underperforming the S&P 500 in November day. This is Nvidia.
Yeah, I don't know how much we should make of that.
I'm with you.
I don't know. I think that since the election, there's been a lot of, Nvidia has sort of existed in its own universe, right? We saw it fall after earnings and then recover. There's been a little bit of confusion over what the path looks like ahead because of some of the friction in making its very popular Blackwell chips. But I think that there's just a lot of uncertainty out there, and we've seen the broadening of the rally. So does the underperformance of tech have more to do with tech or more to do with people looking elsewhere for the next leg up of upside?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are starting to call out, they are, to your point, looking for a broadening of the rally. But if you look at some of the big cap tech names, they have not had a good November. And if you zoom out even more, they haven't had great 3-month performances. And then I love this word, you're gonna take this, if you double click even further, the semiconductor stocks, they have been really underperforming. Strip out Nvidia, a lot of those names underneath the surface, the charts have completely broke down. And for me, I do wonder if they're sending a signal in the first half of next year. Don't know what that signal is yet. Growth slowdown, overvaluation, unclear, but it's worth noting.
Well, there's a lot of overhang risk here, potentially from tariffs, right, which could hit the semiconductor industry. We're going to talk more about them later. But also, there was a report by Bloomberg going into the holiday that the FTC was looking into Microsoft, right? You have obviously regulatory scrutiny for Google. And I think it's not clear that those things are going away with the switch in administrations. So for the first time in a long time, listen, regulatory scrutiny of the tech giants has been talked about for years. But it's the first time in a long time that they seem to be really working their way into conversations around these stocks in a more immediate fashion and maybe putting a little bit of pressure on.
Yeah, it does. It feels like we were talking about this many years ago, but still nothing has happened. But all these companies have gotten more powerful. So what if Alphabet has to strip off the Chrome browser? They're dominant in so many.
No,
You think it's a big deal?
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal if they have to get rid of Chrome. Listen, Australia is saying that if you're a teenager, you can't go on any social media.
Mm-hmm. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
This report from The Information that they're asking suppliers to change the server racks for Blackwell due to overheating. How much does it concern you?
It does not concern me very much at all. Look, NVIDIA went through this about 5 months ago. The thing with NVIDIA is NVIDIA is very quick to make changes, and this particular overheating issue with the Blackwell that's already been played out, and the design was changed. So if we're talking about potentially a new overheating issue, we may be talking about Grace Blackwell, but I can tell you definitively that Jensen's not the kind of CEO that likes to make the same mistake twice. So I don't see this problem happening. Or if it is, it's probably not a meaningful issue because Jensen was able to come back, or Nvidia was able to come back from the previous issue in less than 2 months.
But does it change the numbers if there has to be a delay? I mean, Jensen did tell CNBC, I don't know, a month or so ago that the demand for Blackwell was, quote, insane. So I don't think that's the problem, but the timing.
I don't think the timing changes at all. I think Blackwell is ready to go. I think Blackwell is fixed. And we maintain our tagline, you have to own Nvidia into the Blackwell ramp. I mean, that's going to be the rosiest period of owning Blackwell is when Blackwell is ramping. So I maintain that we've had this overheating issue, particularly with Blackwell, and I think it's been addressed. I think we're expecting like tiny bit of volume to come through in the October quarter, and then substantial volume to come through in the January quarter. And that's the way we see it with Nvidia.
Well, Harsh, we are going to get earnings fairly soon. So what are you looking for? And perhaps even more importantly, when we listen to the commentary around the earnings, what are going to be some of the key milestones that you're going to watch?
Yes. So historically, if we go back last 1.5 years, Nvidia has been on this cadence of about $2 billion beat and $2 billion rise. So that literally the quarters are rising about $4 billion apiece. So for the October quarter, we're expecting slightly less than the $2 billion cadence. We're expecting about a $1.3 billion beat. And that's because it's simple. Blackwell isn't out yet. So the volume isn't there. When you get to the January quarter, Blackwell, we think will do somewhere around $6, $7, $8 billion of revenue. But you could potentially get two situations. You get extreme supply constraint. You could also get a pause in the H100 and the H200 complex, the older chips. Because, why would you want the older chip when the latest chips are available? So we're expecting, again, slightly less than $2 billion beat, but the numbers will keep rising. But when you get to April, it's a whole different ball game. Again, tagline, you have to own it when the ramp comes. Starting April, we see a massive ramp in Blackwell. We see the introduction of Grace Blackwell at the end of the April quarter, possibly the early July part of the quarter. And then you're off to significantly bigger beats than the 2 billion historical beats. So I would urge patience with all the volatility that we're seeing with the stock and focus on the ramp of the new products. The reality is, guys, there's nobody else in this space that does what they do as well as how Nvidia does it.
They report tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would assume.
Well, we don't know.
That there's an expectation guidance is going to be okay?
We don't know that. We just don't know that.
Okay.
But I would tell you that we are looking for semis that are not just endlessly talked about, including Intel, which turned out to be focused on that. You focused on the wrong horse.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I don't focus on the horse behind Secretariat.
17 lengths or 23 lengths or whatever that was. And
I told you I went to Secretariat's. I went to Secretariat's grave.
Did you?
Yeah, it's the Kentucky Horse Park. Fantastic.
The best.
Yeah.
Secretariat was
unbelievable.
There was
none like it.
Yeah.
Like Nvidia.
Like Nvidia. All right, we got an opening bell a few minutes away. Don't forget you can catch us anytime and anywhere by listening to and following the Squawk on the Street Opening Bell podcast. Ernst & Young resigned and said they couldn't support the financials as they were reported at the time. Stock plummeted.
Kurt Greenberg points out the special committee is one person.
Yeah, I was going to say that the farce of the special committee is what you got to focus on. Now, having unfortunately been involved in some of these situations with the special committee, government does not like self-exoneration. The SEC will call you and say, oh, really? Really? Your special committee? Are they made up of hacks? Are they made up of Joe? Or they might just send a release out which just says there is no special committee. Because the government does not like self-exoneration. The government likes to investigate itself. They like a little secretariat get inside here.
They do. They do. You want to do the honors before we continue?
Yeah, why don't we do this?
At the big board today, it is Gildan Activewear celebrating its 40th. At the NASDAQ, it's Scholastic celebrating the next book by Dav Pilkey, Dogman.
Cramer highlights key opportunities in the tech and semiconductor sectors, focusing on Marvel's strategic partnership with Amazon and Nvidia's dominance with its Blackwell chips, which are expected to drive massive growth despite past overheating issues. He advises investors to focus on underappreciated opportunities while emphasizing Nvidia's unmatched market leadership as a must-own stock ahead of its product ramp. Cramer also discusses the growing regulatory scrutiny on major tech players like Google and Microsoft, which could impact the sector. Despite this uncertainty, he remains confident in Nvidia's innovation and ability to deliver strong results, urging investors to stay patient through short-term volatility. Do you think Nvidia's upcoming product launches make it a worthwhile investment despite current market challenges? How might increasing regulatory pressure shape the future of tech giants like Nvidia, Google, and Microsoft?